Hi everybody, welcome to Shell Lectures. So in this video we will be learning about law of mass action. So the law of mass action was actually given by Guldberg and Waj. So this law was given by Guldberg and Waj. So what does that state? So to learn this law pretty easier, let us write a chemical reaction M1A plus M2B gives you, let it be a reversible reaction, N1C plus N2D. It has capital D. So here this is A component, B the substance B, substance C and substance D. So we know that whenever we write active mass we actually write it in brackets, right? So for A let us put the active mass as bracket A, and for B it will be bracket B, and for C it will be bracket C, and for D it will be bracket D. So these are the active masses of the substances present in this reaction. So this is a reversible and also a homogeneous reaction. Okay, it has also attained an equilibrium. As you can see here, it has also attained an equilibrium. So what does this law state? The rate of a chemical reaction. So first let us write rate of forward reaction. Rate of forward reaction, which is M1A plus M2B gives N1C plus N2D. This forward reaction's rate, that is the rate of chemical reaction, is directly proportional to, it's directly proportional to the product of the active masses of the reacting substances. So which are the reacting substances here? A and B. Am I right? So we have to write the product of active masses of the reactive substances. That is, we have to multiply both of the active masses. That is bracket A into bracket B. So we have to do this. And one more thing, raised to the power equal to the stoichiometric coefficient. That is, what is the coefficient of A here? Coefficient is nothing but the factor which is present nearby A. That is M1, right? Then we have to write M1 here. That is, it must be written as power. And for B we have M2. So we must write M2. So this is the rate of the forward reaction. What about backward reaction? Backward reaction, it's directly proportional to, we have to see only the reactant. So this will become the reactant part. When we talk about backward reaction, this will become the reactant part. So I must write again bracket C power, its stoichiometric coefficient, that is N1, bracket D power stoichiometric coefficient, that is N2. So here we can see that whenever we remove the proportionality sign we add a constant, right? So let us put this as RF, the rate of forward reaction be RF and this be RB. So we can put it as RF is equal to KF into A power M1 B power M2. So this is RF and this is the rate, that is the rate constant. Okay, this is the rate constant of the forward reaction. Okay, so KF is nothing but the rate constant of the forward reaction. Rate constant. So that is a constant which is added after removing the proportional symbol. And then for RB also we can write KB into C power N1 into D power N2. So here also KB is the rate constant for the backward reaction. So at equilibrium, what is that? I told you earlier that at chemical equilibrium both of these rates become equal. Am I right? So when both of them become equal, we can equate these two, and hence we will be getting a formula KF by KB equals C power N1 into D power N2 divided by A power M1 into A power M2. So this is the formula which we can write, and instead of this KF by KB you can actually substitute it with K, that is a normal rate constant for the reaction, and this is known as the equilibrium constant. Equilibrium constant. So this is known as the equilibrium constant. Okay, so equilibrium constant we can actually say, here we have written K is equal to KF by KB. So we can write it as K is equal to KF by KB, right? So we can actually say it's the ratio of the rate constants of the forward and the backward reaction. So this is the rate of forward reaction and this is the rate of backward reaction, and its ratio will give you the equilibrium constant. Okay, so there are two forms of this equilibrium constant. One is mentioned in concentration, that is Kc, and the other is mentioned in partial pressure, that is Kp. This is expressed in concentration and this is, both are actually equilibrium constants only, but the way we represent that differs. So this is something which we have written here on. This is something which comes under concentration. We represent K as concentration here, whereas if we talk about a gas or something, then we'll have to substitute all of these values. Either of C, instead of bracket C, I'll have to write Pc power n1, and instead of D, I will have to write Pd power n2. So that's it. The minor change must be made. So that is how it is actually taking two forms. K is taking two forms as Kc and Kp. Now we must know the relationship between Kp and Kc, which is very important. So the relationship between the Kp, that is partial pressure equilibrium constant, and the concentration equilibrium constant. So there is a big derivation which has been given here. So we can just learn the final formula, that is Kp is equal to Kc into RT power delta Ng. So this is the formula, a very important formula actually. Kp is equal to Kc into RT power delta Ng. So Kp is equal to Kc into RT power delta Ng. Just recite this formula for 5 to 10 times and you will be learning it naturally. Kp is equal to Kc into RT power delta Ng. So here Kc is actually its concentration, right? So its unit will obviously be mole liter inverse, right? So this unit will obviously be mole liter inverse, okay? And for Kp it will be atmosphere inverse, because it talks about partial pressure. Here the unit will be atmosphere and here the unit will be mole liter inverse, okay? So based on this formula which we have written here, we can actually make some kind of special cases out of that formula, which we will be learning now. So let's write the formula once again. Kp equals Kc into RT power delta Ng. So before getting into the special cases, we must actually know what these constants are. That is Kp, we know actually, that is equilibrium constant at partial pressure, and equilibrium constant which talks about concentration, and R is gas constant, T is temperature, and what is delta Ng? That is something special. That delta Ng is nothing but sum of the coefficients of products minus sum of the coefficients of reactants. So sum of coefficients of products minus sum of coefficients of reactants. So if we write an equation like that, so to get a better idea, let me give you an example. N2 plus O2 gives 2NO. So what is delta Ng? Delta Ng is equal to sum of coefficients of products. So what is the coefficient of the product here? 2, right? So 2 minus sum of coefficient of reactant. So here we have 1 as coefficient and here we have another 1 as coefficient. So 2 minus 2 gives you 0. So here the value of delta Ng is 0. Okay, so this is what is delta Ng. Now let's get back to the formula. Kp is equal to Kc into RT power delta Ng. So now the first special case has already been written. That is, if this becomes 0 by cases like these, due to cases like these, if this turns out to be 0, what will happen? Anything raised to 0 is 1, right? X raised to 0 is 1. So anything raised to 0 is 1. So this part will completely disappear and Kp will become equal to Kc. So in this condition, that is the reaction between the reversible reaction between nitrogen oxygen to form nitrous oxide is actually having, what is that? The both of these values are equal. Okay, both of these values are equal. And what if this is positive? What if this is positive? So this will be like 1 or 2 or something. Then definitely Kp's value will be greater than Kc's value. Am I right? If this is greater than 1, Okay, that is if it's if it's greater than 0, that is if it is any positive value, this term will definitely be there. Am I right? So Kp's value is completely this one. So this will definitely be larger than this small quantity. Am I right? So in that cases, Kp will be larger than Kc. Okay, so that kind of things are actually, for one example, let me write, what is that? Yeah, we can write phosphorus pentachloride as an example, reversible reaction. So you will be getting PCl3 plus Cl2. Okay, so what is that? Delta Ng is product, sum of coefficient of products, 1, 1, 2 minus 1. So it's 1. So it's positive, right? So as it is positive, here what happens? This is actually having 1. So this term will definitely be there. So Kp is larger than Kc. What if it's negative? What happens? If it's negative, then this will be lesser than Kc. Kp will be lesser than Kc. Okay, so let me write that if delta Ng equals 0, then Kp will be equal to Kc. If delta Ng is positive, then Kp will be greater than Kc. If delta Ng is negative, then Kp will definitely be smaller than Kc. And for this, one good example that we can write is Haber's process. Nitrogen plus 3 molecules of hydrogen will give you 2 molecules of NH3. So here also, if you do with delta Ng, product side 2 minus 3 plus 1 is 4. So it's minus 2. So delta Ng's value is negative. So Kp is lesser than Kc. Okay, and there is one more special case which talks about if T is equal to 1 by R, what happens? So in this formula, as you can see here, if it is 1 by R, so let me write it. So Kp equals Kc into R. I told you T is equal to 1 by R. So I must substitute 1 by R here, power delta Ng. So these two will get cancelled. 1 power anything, that is whether it is 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, Kp will be equal to Kc. Okay, so this delta Ng, if it is any value also, 1 power anything will give you only 1. So Kp will become equal to Kc. So both of these cases, that is when delta Ng turns out to be 0 and when the T is equal to 1 by R, both of these cases Kp will be equal to Kc. Okay, so what is actually this K? The application of K, what can we actually derive by means of K is that, so the K, stability, we can actually derive the stability of the reactants and products. So the application of K is what we are discussing here, the stability, that is the reactant stability, the stability of the reactants increases when the value of K decreases. Okay, and the stability of the products increases when the value of K increases. So the stability of product is directly proportional to the value of K, whereas the stability of reactants is inversely proportional to the value of K. Okay, let us have an example. Like XO, let us have an oxide, this is reversible, so we will be having X2 plus O2. Okay, so all of these are gases. It's a homogeneous reaction because all of them are in the same phase. So here they have given you the value, that is K1 is equal to 1 into 10 power 24. And then we have another one, 2XO2, which is also a gas. Reversible reaction will give you X2 gas plus 2O2, which is also a gas. And here you have been given with K2 is equal to 2.5 into 10 power 10. So here which K1 is greater or K2 is greater? Which is greater? Obviously K1 is greater. Am I right? So here K1 is greater than K2. So what did I tell you? As K increases, reactant, what is that? As K increases, product increases, but as K increases, reactant decreases. That is a well-known fact, but still let me write that. As K increases, reactant decreases because the stability of reactants is inversely proportional to K. So here the K here is increasing, so this will be less stable. So this will be highly stable. So we can write XO2 will be highly stable than XO. Okay, so the application of K is that it is used to derive the stability of the reactants and products. So if the reactant, if the stability of reactant, if the value of K decreases, then the stability of reactant increases. If the value of K increases, then it decreases. Whereas for product, it's just directly proportional. If the value of K increases, it also increases. If it decreases, it also decreases. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'll be uploading lot of videos in the future. Stay tuned to all of my videos. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done so far. Like and share this video to whomever you know. Thank you so much for watching.